Today, the famous Kraft TV cameraman focuses on outer space for another exciting adventure in the world beyond tomorrow.
Control deck to all stations. Stand by to raise shift. Blast off, -5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0!
Hey all, Plastic Commander here, and we got a new video, finally! So I'm sorry that these videos are taking longer now. As you know, I'm moving more towards a different style of content, and that's starting with this video right here. I want to do something more along the lines of like a video essay, something like a game review, but for Army Men. I don't feel like a lot of people do that, and I really want to try it. I really do like to sit down and just talk about Army Men while I'm looking at them type of videos, but I feel like those videos are kind of lazy and they're also not very visually interesting, and I feel like this style of content is going to do a lot better. And on top of that, I think you guys are going to enjoy it a lot more as well. So, but anyway, as you guys know, we hit 2,000 subscribers. That is freaking insane. Like, I can't get over that I actually have made it this far, and it's growing more and more. Just literally this week we hit 2,070, so we're almost at 2,100. So let's just keep that going to get to 3,000, which the next special will be at. But today we're not worried about that. We're worried about today's special, which is going to be on space. So, from the 1930s onward, space was a huge part of Americana and sci-fi. You can look at sci-fi stories going all the way back to the 1800s with Mark Twain's A Connecticut Yankee, but space specifically probably found its footing in the 1900s with War of the Worlds or even John Carter. And today we're going to be looking at toys that were inspired by franchises like that. So, we have everything lined up from the 1940s all the way to stuff from today. So without further, say it with me now, ado. I know you didn't say it. You're gonna look me in the eyes and you're gonna lie to me like that? You're just mindlessly watching this video, aren't you? You don't even care about the Plastic Commander. Or maybe you are watching, and maybe you did say, without further ado, with me. And if so, I'm proud of you. And I want to thank you for your service. What was I talking about? Also, before I switch in, I know I don't have like any like space attire or decorations like the Wild West video, but I do have this cool laser gun. Oh my god. In the world of toys and media during the post-war years in America, there were three genres that kept young boys hooked like Whitney Houston with the white stuff. The uncles, fathers, and brothers returning home from the European and Pacific theaters with tales of daring and adventure caused a craze for military toys. Wild West movies and shows such as The Lone Ranger, Gunsmoke, and The Rifleman convinced an entire generation that genocide and dysentery were cool as long as six-shooters and lever actions were involved. And finally, science fiction had boys everywhere asking only two questions. Where were the aliens, and what are we going to shoot them with? Space, the final frontier. There's absolutely no secret that space has been a huge influence over American pop culture over the last several decades. Stories such as War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells and even the story John Carter have helped bring science fiction into the minds of people all over. However, it wasn't up until the late 40s and early 50s when properties such as Buck Rogers, Commando Cody, no not that one, and especially Flash Gordon hit the radios and even TV screens screens all across the United States. These heroes of deep space, as well as their comic book and dime novel counterparts, caused a boom in the 1950s for American interest into the unknown blackness of space. Just a channel over from the likes of Captain Video and Flash Gordon, people could tune in to see real-world news and see events such as the first ever satellite in space, the Soviet Union's very own Sputnik, the first ever dog in space, the Soviet Union's very own Laika, or the first ever man in space, Yuri Gagarin, from the Soviet Union. Or if you weren't a blood-sucking communist, the first ever man to set foot on the moon, Rob Schneider.
You're good at that. Make it look so easy.
While perhaps not as popular as their Wild West and World War II counterparts, companies such as Ajax Archer, multiple toy makers, Timmy, and more pumped out space figures like crazy. The show Captain Video teamed up with the company Lido to produce a whole batch of figures based off the TV series. These figures are absurdly rare and hard to come across now. In fact, while searching for figures for this video, I didn't even bother trying because the cheapest lots of them still ran for hundreds of dollars for just a handful. Not to mention the figures that came with small pieces that are terribly difficult to find. So right over here we have a couple of figures from the MPC 6-inch Spaceman line. MPC was a big competitor with Marks and mostly Timmy for dime store toys, and these guys were really widely popular. You could have found these at any Piggly Wiggly or grocery store growing up back in the 60s. One of the really interesting things about MPC is that they did this series of figures, both 6-inch and regular 3-inch figures that were called ring hand figures. So I've talked about these before, and basically they would have holes in their hands here and just wherever, and they would be able to hold tools, weaponry, and they'd also have like pieces of equipment such as belts and helmets. These guys would have had some glass helmets probably. Maybe this guy right here who has nothing on him. But yeah, and that's really interesting. And these guys right here, the way they were packaged and sold, they would have had screws very similar to how Warhammer figures are, that would have been attached to their bodies, and all of the weapons and the tools would have been attached that way to each figure. In fact, if you look really closely on some of these, you can see the little notches on the figures where those little plastic screws would have connected. I'm not a fan of this style of figure, and it's very obvious why it fell out of style. I don't think kids really like these either. The idea is cool. It's a lot similar to action figures, but these are army men. You can't pose them still. They don't move their hands or arms, so just having the pieces be loose like that is really more of a nuisance than anything. Kids don't buy army men to customize them like that. Really, if they want to do that, they'll just buy action figures. Although I know why they did this. It's pretty obvious that the reason they did that was really just because they wanted to sell more of those accessories. So if you're a kid, you buy a bag, after a couple weeks, you're probably going to lose most of those spare parts, which will prompt you to go running back to your mom to see if she'll pick up another bag for you. So from a marketing standpoint, I get it. But as a collector, I hate it. These guys right here were made by a company called Ajax Archer, and they made a lot of different kinds of toys way back in the 40s and the 50s. These guys right here are from the late 40s, so right around the beginning of that Buck Rogers, Flash Gordon era, and these guys are really telling of that. Just by looking at them, they're really just a hodgepodge of just random pieces you would find in those properties. And as you can tell, they don't stay up super great. Like, I'm fighting this one right here. But nonetheless, they're still relatively cool. I don't think these were as popular with kids way back in the day, mostly just because, again, they don't stand up very well as opposed to other figures. Now, you might be thinking these are really similar to Lido, and yeah, you would be right, although these are different plastic. You know what? They deserved it. Bam! 2 for 1. So, probably my favorite guy is this one right here, this dude with the ray gun. Really, really cool, and that ray gun just screams just Pulp Fiction 1950s dime store novel. I absolutely love it. And also, I'm now realizing this is hair. This isn't like a helmet, this is like a head of hair. Look at this guy. This dude's rocking the mullet of an 18th century German boy.
Yeah, I just want to let you know the back of your head is ridiculous.
Freaking awesome. This figure was made in a variety of colors, dark olive drab green being one of them. I don't know what this is on his leg. Oh wait, it's a gun. Okay, that's a gun. That's a little knee pad. There's his boot. And there is his, looks like a Zune. Yeah, I think that's a Zune. I don't know, was the Zune around in the 1950s? It looks like it was. But Ajax Archer, really, really cool, and a very early piece of toy history. These guys right here retailed for me about $20 for 10 of them, so they don't really play around. And that was honestly a really good deal I got these for. I paid about between 20 to 30 for about 10 of these guys. So they're pretty difficult to find because they're so old, but if you're digging around your grandparents' old stuff, maybe you can find their old toys, and if so, you're sitting on some money. Ajax Archer also made these guys right here, which were just slightly different. These spacemen actually have little detachable helmets on them, so you just lift that right off, boop, boop. These are also really cool, but again, just so unnecessary to just have the helmet to be removable. There really is no good reason for it other than I think they actually wanted kids to lose these tiny pieces so they could come back for more. I think that's legitimately the only reason. Another thing too that's a minor gripe is that the helmets don't really fit super great. Like there. They don't stand super well either. I guess we were still trying to figure Army Men out back in the day, which, you know, I can't even say that because for centuries, toy soldiers tended to have bases. Even like if you look at a Nutcracker, which is based off of a traditional antique toy soldier, it had a base. So why Leto and Ajax Archer just decided to do these baseless figures is just absolutely beyond me. But despite that, these are still really cool and really good pieces of Americana. And they're at the point now where they really need to be in a museum, so I'm probably going to buy some sort of glass case to keep these and all my other figures in. If they're willing to stand up. Ajax Archer and NPC weren't the only players pumping out space figures.
This is one of the main assembly lines of the Lewis Marks Toy Company.
In the mid-50s, Glencoe Marks would create a series dedicated to the show Tom Corbett, Space Cadet. This series began in 1951 as a cartoon strip drawn by Ray Bailey that ran in newspapers all across America. By 1953, the strip would be ended before being published as a standalone series known as The Original Tom Corbett, Space Cadet, which was just a collection of all the original strips from the previous 2 years. In 1952, the series got not only a radio show, but also a television series. The series followed Tom Corbett, Astro, and Roger Manning, no relation, as they trained to become members of the Solar Guard, but until then, they were only space cadets. Now, I don't know a whole heck of a lot about this show, mostly because I'm not a bazillion and a half years old. However, I do know that it was inspired by the novel Space Cadet by Robert Heinlein. So with that being the case, it probably includes a lot of fascism.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part too.
You can tell by looking at them that these were some of Marx's earlier figures just from the sculpting and the coloration. This was right before they started using that more familiar PVC plastic that Timmy is known for. Older Marx figures tend to be a lot chuckier than their later products too. The series included all of the main cast, as well as a single alien that definitely gives me Creature of the Black Lagoon vibes. I especially like this guy with the microphone, looking like he's about to give his Type 5 at the Comedy Store. POV, you're about to become another statistic to the Plastic Commander's road rage. Marx was probably the only toy company ever to make Army Men sitting down, too. Almost every set at least had one or two figures who were just chilling out like these guys right here. All in all, it's far from the most visually interesting set Marx ever produced. Not too many figures in action poses, only one alien, and this guy giving a thumbs up, really just throwing off the vibe. Like, come on bro, you don't know me. Why are you giving me a thumbs up? Do I amuse you? Are you proud of me? What have I done to make you so content? You don't know what I've done. Stay away from... This set did, however, make a good companion to another series Marx ran around this time that was space-themed, that being the Rex Mars line of figures. This line wasn't based off anything in particular from what I can gather. Either that or the internet is lying to me, which it rarely does. I do not have a drinking problem. I have a drinking solution. Now, I do own some of these reproduction 4-inch Rex Mars figures. These are pretty much the same as their shorter counterparts with a little bit more detail. And yeah, I really like these. Of course, they're not as tall as the good old-fashioned 6-inch figures we would see from MPC, Timmy, and Marks later on in the 60s. However, they're pretty serviceable. This was before action figures were pretty widely accepted as a concept. Of course, you had baby dolls and stuff, but you didn't have a whole lot of bigger figures. So going down the row, we got this guy right here who looks like Dale the Exterminator from King of the Hill. I don't even know what that is. Like, I failed science growing up, so most of this stuff they have, I couldn't even tell you. But one of my favorites is this guy right here, who is gonna whip around and blow the head off of any little alien that he comes across. But probably my number one favorite guy is just gonna be this guy right here, with the good old-fashioned Bowie knife. Just gonna run up and stab the aliens. And I like him because this was before you really had a lot of laser swords or plasma cutters or whatnot. So, of course, back then, they were just like, oh, we're just going to take good old-fashioned knives to space. Probably one of my favorite figures right here is this guy, who's just aiming his pistol super high up. So I guess he's reaching over a crowd to get that alien that's right back there. And then, of course, you can't forget the guy who's going to use his maracas, his tactical maracas, to serenade the alien to death. And, of course, we got this older guy back here with a can of oil. I do not know what that is. I guess that's a walkie-talkie, but that is, like, the weirdest walkie-talkie I have ever seen. Like, could he just not have a regular old walkie-talkie? Did it have to be like a little, like a can of asparagus? I don't know. Probably one of my number 2 favorite figures, or probably my number 2 favorite figure, I should say, is this alien right here. I really like this guy. I really like his squid hands and his webbed feet. And I really like his eyes, too. So freaky looking. And he just screams classic space. So I really, really love this figure. So, yeah, Rex Mars, really, really cool. These 2 sets were fine, but apparently Marks had a whole slew of guys lined up for Rex Mars that didn't make the cut. Those figures were then reworked on the crown jewel of Marks space sets, Cape Canaveral. Cape Canaveral was a Marks set produced in the 1960s and one of their most popular products that wasn't a battleground set. It was jam-packed with rockets, accessories, a helicopter, and several scientists and engineers to ensure your launches go according to plan. It even had a decently sized tin building to act as a base of operations. Just another classic set made by Marks that I'm not willing enough or strong enough to pay nearly $300 for. I'm on the verge of jumping off my 2-story apartment. Clay, you should do YouTube. You should, totally be a YouTuber, Clay. Said no one. I did this to myself. Thank you very much. I put myself through unimaginable horrors beyond your comprehend, Cape Canaveral. So, Cape Canaveral was a playset produced by Marks in the very early 1960s, late 1950s, whichever one you choose to believe, because it could only be one of those. And it was probably one of Marks' best sets, all in all. In fact, it was definitely one of their best non-military sets and most popular. I'm pretty sure it came not only in the cardboard box, but it also came in the carrying case as well. And what I have here isn't the original Cape Canaveral by any stretch of the imagination. And some of my savvier collectors would probably immediately see that. But what we have is somewhat of a faithful recreation of what Cape Canaveral was. So, to start us off, these figures are reproductions made by, I'm not sure, but I can tell you they were sold by McShawn's Closet, which is a seller which I always buy from all of the time. They're one of my favorite vendors. You can find them on their website and on eBay as well. So just look up McShawn's Closet. And then the actual pieces here, this is a recreation or a reproduction set that's ran by Best Made Classic Toys, BMC for short. So I definitely recommend, if you're interested in just having something similar to this little setup here, buy both of those, because that will only run you about $50, and a complete Cape Canaveral that's vintage is going to run you about $300. So definitely the cheaper option. Of course, as you guys know, I'm more of a military vintage toy collector, so I don't really focus too much on space at all. That's why I went ahead and just did this instead of shelling out 300 smackaroos. You know how many chicken strips that could buy? A lot. And I eat a lot. As you can tell, I'm putting on weight. I'm like really depressed right now, just so you guys know. I just like to throw that out there every once in a while, in case you couldn't tell. And I make poor financial decisions to help cope with that. But anyway, looking at some of the pieces here, I really like the fixture pieces that Marks had initially made for the set. You get everything from little chairs to this. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this right here, it looks like a barber's chair, but I swear to God, this is what they strapped Alex DeLarge in Clockwork Orange. Like, look at this. Look how draconian this is. Like, it looks like they're about to sit someone down and force him to watch, like, oh, I don't know, children's YouTube. That's what I would do if I wanted to torture someone for hours on end. Another really cool piece is this little desk. I'm just knocking everything over. I really like it because even though this is the atomic age and it's supposed to be futuristic, they still just use a notebook and a pen to do all of their writing and to put down all of their government secrets. One of the things you may notice is that this came with stickers, and I did not put any of the stickers on this, not because I want to preserve it for resale value or anything. It's just because I'm lazy. I'm just real lazy and a little bit depressed. I don't know if I've mentioned that before, but I'm real depressed. I don't know if any of you guys could tell or not, or if I've ever talked about it. Do I ever talk about being depressed? I don't think I do. I don't think I do. But anyway, looking at some of the figures from this reproduction set, this was kind of the age where Mark shifted away from those shorter 2.5-inch chunkier figures. I call them chubby guys, and I've seen a lot of other people call them that too, just because they're real fat in the face. To these more slimmed down, more correctly proportioned and accurate figures. So, just looking at a few of them, we got this guy right here with some weird science device. I wouldn't know. I failed science in high school. And then we got this guy right here who's pointing at something. Probably going to be pointing at this right here, this shelf. Probably asking for someone who makes a lot less money than him to do all the heavy lifting and get something down from the top. Any of you guys who are younger, who haven't worked a job yet, get ready to do that a lot. But then over here we got a hazmat crew, which is really, really cool. I really like that Marks just put the effort in to make not one, not two, but 4 different hazmat guys. You get so much variety in these vintage Marks sets that you just do not see in toy sets made today whatsoever. I will give Baby Boomers one thing, and I think I've said this before. They had much better toys than kids today. Over here, we got this guy with a clipboard and a rag. I'm guessing this guy's an OSHA representative just by how he carries himself, which is really interesting because I'm pretty sure Cape Canaveral is a government institution, so I don't know why OSHA would be poking their nose around there. But still, it looks like he's screaming at the little general right here who runs the whole show, probably because of this shelf over here, which has some really unsafe materials. So let's take a look. If you can see the words, supply tower, atom bombs, rocket repair, disintegrator, and launching fuel, all on the same shelf. You know, the disintegrator next to the launching fuel, I think that makes sense, but yeah, the atom bombs right there, I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think that's a good idea, but you know, they had different safety standards back in the 1960s than we do today, so maybe this OSHA manager or representative isn't too upset about it. In fact, this guy might not even be from OSHA. Honestly, if you just put on a hard hat, a yellow vest, and carry a clipboard anywhere, you can get into a lot of things. You can steal a lot of stuff that way. No one would bat an eye. They would just immediately do whatever you said. You just gotta carry yourself like you're from the government, and people will do your bidding for you. It's really interesting. But anyway, yeah, if you want a semi-recreation or a semi-faithful recreation of the Mark's Cape Canaveral playset, this is a really good way to go for not too much money. And that's why I wanted to do this instead of paying $300 for Cape Canaveral, not just to save my money, but just to show y'all that y'all can still reasonably get your hands on these classic toys. There's still plenty of manufacturers other than BMC and vendors who sell reproductions of a lot of different Mark stuff. So, in case you're really interested, really all I'm missing here are the missiles, the Big Ten building, and the helicopter. There's a real cool looking helicopter that came with Cape Canaveral, but other than that, this is like 60% of it. But anyway, Cape Canaveral, I really love. I was gonna say like and love. Like I can't make up my mind. I feel like I'm talking to my ex all over again. I really love, and if you're a big fan of space but don't got too much money, I would recommend buying both the BMC reproduction pieces and this set of repro figures by McShawn's Closet. For the less adventurous, several toy companies made space figures that had less to do with wild and wacky adventures and were a lot more grounded. One of the most popular space sets that was pretty common to find were the NPC astronauts. These came in a variety of colors and were on the cheaper side of life. Hey, not everyone was Richie Rich being able to buy the sweet $10 Mark's Cape Canaveral. Sometimes the dime bag of figures by NPC had to do. So, back on the table, and without my ugly face and frame, we have some NPC spacemen. These guys are really cool, and they were around for a very long time. Probably some of the most popular spacemen you could buy back in the day, and the big reason for that is because they were everywhere. You'd go down to your local Piggly Wiggly, and they'd be on the rack or on a little side saddle, and you could just pick up a couple bags, and they were really cheap, too. You just please fall over, please. So these guys were produced by MPC Toys, multiple productions company, or multiple toy makers, whichever one you want to call them, because they went by both. And yeah, these are really cool. They also had a ring hand variety, which I don't have any of the ring hand figures because I think they're a sin. Personally, I just think that way. But yeah, look, we got this guy right here, who's I don't know what this is. Like, every one of these sets has something that's like a little suitcase with a hose connected to it. What is it? Like a fire extinguisher? Like, what? I don't know what it is. And like every one of them, like this guy right here is walking with one. He doesn't have the hose connected to it, but it's the same thing. This set, really the only flaw with it, to me at least, is that there's not really that many well, there's none. There's no action poses. The closest we get is the guy with the camera right here. So, my leading theory is that these guys are all characters in a Michael Bay movie, and they are all walking away from it. They're all falling over in front of the explosion. So, because cool guys don't look back at the explosion after it happens. So that's my theory. Like, this guy's the cameraman and they're all walking away from the explosion like that. That killed the other cameraman who just didn't get the memo that day. Like, he didn't get the mass email from Michael Bay. That's just a joke. Michael Bay doesn't know how to use technology. But yeah, I really like this set of figures still. They're very well made, just like most of NPC's stuff. NPC was one of the cheaper companies out there for plastic toy army men. And they were a big competitor with Tim E, because both of them kind of appealed more to that dime store cheapo bag crowd. And while Mark's was just the king sitting on top of a pile of money selling their big old Battleground boxes for $10 each. Wow, what a miser. But I got a special treat for this segment. Yep, that's right. I got some in the bag. So, some of my older viewers, if you didn't tune out after I made fun of you for about 30 minutes, you probably recognize this bag right here. So this is a bag of Space Heroes, and it's made by Peyton. Really interesting. So I'm guessing Peyton just copied the MPC figures, because definitely MPC made these. No doubt about that in my mind. But I'm going to go ahead and actually open this up on camera, and we're going to take a look at the figures inside. So this is about a 40-year-old bag of Army men. I actually bought 2 for a reasonable price, so that's why I'm comfortable doing this. Oh. You know, those kids growing up back in the day were really smart, because, you know, they only paid probably like a nickel for this bag, and I paid like $15 for it. So we're ripping it open, and there we go. And I always keep my cards. I actually have a project in mind I want to do with all my cards from all my sets. I've been keeping them for the last 5 years. So yeah, I'll show you guys that project one day that I'm putting together. So let's go ahead and just stuff these out. There we go. And let's compare them to the MPC. A car just revved its engine outside and gave me a mild heart attack. I thought the Wendigo was coming for me. But, yeah. Not nearly as quality. Yeah, definitely we got a lot of flashing around the rim right here for these figures. But we got a whole bunch of different colors that we may not have seen. So again, lots and lots of flashing. So here's one of the MPC guys, and here is one of the Peyton guys. In fact, I think these are slightly smaller, if I'm correct. Maybe, let me... No, they're about the same size. In fact, yeah, they're practically the same size. But yeah, I really do like this set right here. But yeah, the Peyton ones are significantly of less quality. We definitely got lots of little bits and bobs still hanging around, just hanging out. So we got this guy. Looks like he has a lasso. I guess he's gonna lasso, round up the aliens. And of course we got more cameramen. And of course we got this guy still. But yeah, the MPC Spacemen, a very classic line, but honestly, they're not super great quality, and you don't get a whole lot of action poses with it. That's probably the biggest gripe for most of these sets, is that you don't get enough guys shooting a gun, you don't get enough guys like running, you don't get enough guys just even fixing stuff, honestly. Like, all of these guys are holding a gun or tools, but they're not using them, and that's kind of a bummer, to be honest. So the playability here for children definitely isn't super strong, but still a really nice set of figures, and a very classic one to a lot of people out there. Since we're dragging MPC deeper into this dive, we can't go any further without mentioning the big kahuna of vintage toy army men. The King of Kings, the Big Cheese, the favorite homeless man out of that group of homeless people who hang around your apartments, and while you're always afraid to give him loose change in front of the others to avoid showing favoritism, you still drop a buck or two in his little cup when the others aren't looking. Man, I hope Wesley is doing okay. Picture it. It's the 1970s, and a very, very famous movie just came out. A movie so famous, I won't even say its name, because right now I'm trying to pretend it doesn't exist, since the next part of this series is strictly about it. And this famous movie has had a massive power vacuum for merchandise. Kidder, the company hired by George Lucas to produce figures of the property, is struggling to meet demand since the popularity of the film was not expected. And because George was too busy putting teenage aliens in miniskirts to realize how much kids would want toys of his beloved characters, you're a small, well, not small, pretty big, in fact, toy company, like, really big, like, you're literally called the king of the dime store toy because of how popular you are. Like, when people think Army Men, they immediately think of your classic line of Vietnam-era figures, like, that big. You see this gap for toys from the successful franchise and think, man, I gotta get in on that action.
I gotta figure out how to make money on this thing. It's simply too good.
The Galaxy Laser Team, probably one of the most classic sets of space-themed army men that ever existed, especially in the 1970s. So, this set was made specifically to cash in on Star Wars. Like, there's no other reason, and I can just tell you that just by looking at this guy right here. Yeah, tell me who that looks like. If you said me whenever I get out of the shower, you're absolutely right. So going through the figures real quick, we got a previously mentioned Shag Carpet McGee wearing a pair of ripped blue jeans, it appears. Oh, of course, we got R2 Radiator, my favorite droid. Let's see, Discount Buck Rogers. Love his little antenna on the top. And surprisingly enough, out of all these ones I haven't had any antennas break off. So, real good craftsmanship, for being honest. This guy, carrying a Speak and Spell, that's what it looks like. And these come in a large variety of colors. Back in the day, they really just came in black, and the two right here are actual vintage. They came in the lime green, the white, and pink. In fact, if you find white and pink ones, those are actual vintage because they are not making those colors. And they're coming out with a couple of more colors. In fact, they're making them in purple now. I actually just picked some of those up. I believe purple and yellow. I just picked up a bag of those because I saw they had just released, and I have no self-control. We got this guy right here. Again, the hose, the little box in the hose. I don't know what this is. Like, I'm scratching my head. Anyone who's somewhat into space, tell me what this is. Like, is this guy like a discount space exterminator? Like, what is he? What is this? What is this thing? I don't know what that thing is, and quite frankly, it scares me. Then we got this lady right here, who's, probably a space-themed toll booth operator, if I had to guess. What is this? Again, just so many random parts. One of the things, this is one of the cardinal sins of Army Men, by the way, and I've talked about this figure specifically before in my Valentine's video. I hate when they make figures with like a piece of furniture connected to them, or like a random piece connected to them. I hate that. Like, they should be separate if they really want to include it. I feel like figures should just be the figure. It shouldn't have, because like if you think about it moving around, is it going to move around? Yeah, with just carrying this everywhere, it's weird. It's really weird. And finally, me after I have 6 beers at Chili's.
For what? Arresting me for what? I'm not allowed to stand up for myself? I thought this was America.
So, despite some of the flaws of this series, the main one being there's just not enough action poses whatsoever. Again, oh, I almost forgot my favorite character right back here. How could I? Infamous Senator Mitch McConnell. Doing our country a great service by being a twisted old tortoise of a man. But yeah, that's really the biggest flaw, is that there's just not enough action poses. I mean, we do get the guy with the ray gun, Discount Buck Rogers, right over here. These stand up a lot better than the NPC guys did. But yeah, this makes a really good companion to the NPC figures. In fact, literally, this guy and the other space dude right here, practically, you know, the same. They both even have that weird box thing that they just love to carry around for whatever reason. But still, I love this series, and you can buy these reproduced by BMC and Victory Buy for fairly cheap. I have pretty much every color they've produced, and like I said, they just started making these in purple and yellow. And yeah, it's a really great set. So a few little facts. If you find a one of the ways to tell the difference between reproduction and new is that the stomach on the Mitch McConnell figure, that's what I'm going to call him now. The reproductions are a lot skinnier and slimmer, but the original ones are actually like a lot fuller. So that's one way to tell. And also, I don't have one to show you, but the little battle droid that they have here, that's obviously a knockoff of R2-D2, do not tell me otherwise. Old ones actually have this back part filled in, it's not hollow. So just two little things to look for whenever you find some Galaxy Laser figures. So, Galaxy Laser Team. Sounds about right. Galaxy Laser Team was super popular in Argentina, and it even had its own comic. It was made in the 80s, and it was called Ekaton, The People Lost in Space. I have no clue what it's about since it's all in Spanish, but it ran in a children's magazine for several years down there. Although, since it's Argentinian, I'm sure there's at least one issue where the brave Galaxy Laser Team take back their beloved Las Malvinas from the dirty hands of the evil British Empress Margaret Thatcher. Personally, I'd never get lost in space, but that's just because I'm built different. So kind of nearing the end of the video, we are going to talk about a couple of sets that may be just a little bit more grounded than the rest of the stuff we've looked at. So pretty much everything else has kind of been more along the lines of the Atomic Age, Buck Rogers, and so on. But this is a set that was made by Marx way back in the day of just regular old astronauts. So we got this guy with the American flag. I'm not going to count those stars because I'm not that much of a stickler today. Then we got this guy who looks like he's carrying all of his equipment in a garbage bag. So these were probably made after NASA's budget was getting cut like crazy.
What, do you own space? No, NASA does.
NASA?
Rocket people, perhaps you've heard of them?
It's NASA.
Then we got another guy with a camera. I don't know what it was about toy companies making a dude with a camera. So, really, if I made this set, I would have just added a little Stanley Kubrick figure, you know, just because they faked it. Don't tell me they didn't. Don't lie to me. He made it. So we got this guy right over here, the Minesweeper. Or I guess a metal detector. I don't think there's any mines on the moon. I hope not. I hope that level of military-industrial complex hasn't reached outer space just yet. I hope we have a decade or two before that happens. And a really interesting figure is we got a guy connected to a little thing right here, and he's floating up in the air in zero gravity. I really like this attention to detail that Marx did. Very, very nice. And of course, even though these are reproductions, they do have the Marx logo on the bottom, if I can get it to focus. You know what? You're just not going to get to see it. I've just decided that I don't want to show it to you. Yeah, sucks to be you, huh? So, keep going down the list. We got this guy right here who, I don't know what that... Oh, I see. It's a bag, and he's picking up moon rocks with a little grabber. Although that grabber's kind of short. You think he would just... Well, then again, can't really bend over in his spacesuit, so I kind of get it. Okay, that makes sense. And then we got a 2-for-1 special right back here. We got these guys carrying a case. I don't know what's in here, and I don't know enough about space equipment to even make a close to accurate guess, so I'm just gonna assume it's a sniper rifle that you got to put together, and they're gonna do a noontime assassination. That's my guess. That's my headcanon for that. And then over here we got a guy with a shovel, very futuristic, just a regular old shovel. He just brought a shovel to space. And then we got a guy with another shovel? I don't know what that is. It's like a... Maybe he's going to go jellyfishing with SpongeBob. But this is a really nice set of figures, and it makes a really good companion for Cape Canaveral as well. So if you're interested, I would recommend picking these up along with the Cape Canaveral figures, because they just kind of go hand in hand. They're the same dark metallic color. Yeah. Marx Apollo astronauts. Really, really cool. So I'm really agitated because I actually ordered more of these, but the set of these that I ordered came with slightly more accessories, most specifically a little Land Rover, or a Moon Rover, I guess. which was really cool looking. And I'm kind of upset because I really got to get this video out soon. Because I got to get working on the Halloween special. So I'm really pushing to get this wrapped up. But anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and review the ones I got. So this is a set that was made around the 90s and early 2000s, and it's made up to today. It's a staple in any kind of sciencey museum or even a little gift shop or hobby store, and that's where I got these, was a local hobby store. But yeah, these are knockoffs of the Mark 6-inch space figures, I'm fairly certain. Well, they're definitely clones of Mark's astronauts. You can tell just by looking at the face. In fact, I'm going to reach down here, grab one of these, and a lot of similarities, definitely. Maybe not in height. In fact, oh my god, that guy's a lot bigger. But yeah, these are definitely at least heavily inspired by the Mark's astronauts. But this is a really cool set. We got a bunch of guys here. Most of them are just regular old astronauts. Again, really grounded. We got this guy with a wrench. Looks like he could be working on the rocket ship back here. We got this guy. Looks like he has a big old pair of binoculars so he can stare out into the blackness of space just a little bit better. I'm sure you'll keep looking and find something, buddy. Then we got this guy over here. Another tool that looks like an Allen wrench. Or not an Allen wrench. You see, this is what happens when you grow up without a father. You call that an Allen wrench. That's what happens, ladies and gentlemen. So, putting that guy back. And then we got this guy with a little grabber right here. Again, picking up more moon rocks and putting them in his little suitcase. Really, really cool. And this set also came with a couple of pieces. For one, it came with the, whatever that's called, because I can't remember off the top of my head. So, really, really cool. This is the part that detaches from the rocket and boom, lands on the moon, and they get out. One small step for Army Man, one giant leap. Whee! He said one giant leap. Don't look at me. Coming back here, we got a rocket ship. Really, really cool. So yeah, this is a really nice set. You don't get a whole lot of, or you at least don't see a lot of stuff these days that's themed around other things other than military toys, at least out in the wild. Of course, if you look online and you search hard enough, you'll find something, but I found this set at a local hobby shop, which was really nice and refreshing. I really love seeing hobby stores that still have a wide selection of plastic toy figures. It always warms my soul, or at least what little bit of it that I have left. But yeah, these space guys, don't know where they're made, don't know who made them, they just showed up one day, but still, nonetheless, really cool. Last but not least, we have LOD's figures based off the movie Another Plan from Outer Space. I think this was honestly an amateur project that didn't have a whole lot of money put into it. I mean, I don't really have room to talk. My videos look like they have the budget of 2 Red Baron pizzas and half a can of Monster Energy. Although I am stumped as to why LOD made this set. I'm guessing one of the people who worked on it had ties with LOD, and LOD just wanted to do him a solid. So the final set we'll be looking at today is the set from the movie Another Plan from Outer Space. So, I just talked a little bit about that movie here just a minute ago. I'm filming this before I talk about it. But yeah, I've never even heard of that movie before. In fact, when I got this set, I assumed it was like an older film, and I guess the film I was thinking of was Plan 9 from Outer Space, but turns out it's not. Another Plan from Outer Space is like a kind of an amateur film, and again, I had never heard of it or seen it, nor am I going to watch it specifically for this video because yeah, I just don't want to. Couldn't really think of an excuse there, so, and I'm not going to try to for your own benefit. See, I'm an honest man when I want to be. So, just looking at the figures, these are some really nice figures, and this is actually my first set by LOD, so their figures are very similar to classic Toy Soldiers, and especially Toy Soldiers of San Diego, and they're slightly more expensive than TSSD. just by a hair. I think this set ran me close to like $28, and you get 11 figures, which is just a little bit less than what a TSSD set would give you. So we got this woman right here. I'm sure she has a name in the movie, but I do know she's carrying a big old Kalishnikov, kind of improperly. I'm gonna assume she had some kind of barrier she was set on, but yeah, that's that's not how I would hold that, especially just raw. So she probably has a lot of arm strength, or I hope she does. Then we got this guy who's dual wielding pistols. No, he's not dual wielding pistols. He has a cigar. He's smoking a cigar while smoking the aliens. Well, isn't that interesting? Good for him, buddy. Art could be a fat doobie, you know, to each their own. But anyway, we got this guy right here who's holding a handgun, and he has this really cool eye thing. It reminds me of that one superhero. What's the name of that superhero with the laser eye? Whenever he pulls his glasses up. What's his name? Oh, the Green Lantern. That's who I'm thinking of. Yeah, the Green Lantern. Yeah, really cool. It's like he's talking on the cell phone while holding his gun. Kind of holding his gun like a 1940s gangster. Really interesting. We got another guy with an AK-47, actually holding it correctly this time. And he looks really cool. I really like his hair. Very, very nice. And these guys make a good addition to your blue figures, too. So, and then finally, we have this woman right here. And these all appear to be like astronauts who are... I think the premise of the movie, from what I could tell, is that they crash land on Earth, and Earth is overran by aliens, and they gotta, like, fight their way. I guess they just fight the aliens. I guess that's the movie. But these are beautifully sculpted figures. I mean, just look at the detailing on the face. Detailing on the face is something that's very difficult to do with molding machines, so it's really impressive. And even the back of the boots have some detailing there, so it's definitely understandable as to why these would run you such a high premium. But that being said, the star of the show here is the aliens by far. These are really cool. In fact, I would argue just to buy this set for the aliens themselves. We got this guy with a laser rifle and a wicked gas mask goggle thing going on. He has these wicked freaking spikes going down his back, just super awesome. And then we got another warrior, pretty much the same guy but kneeling down. His goggles are slightly different. Let me focus that in just a little bit. There we go. Looks like he's wearing some kind of wicked alien eye patch or modification there. But yeah, these are really beautiful. Then keep going. We got a guy who's just completely naked, just raw dogging it, just with a laser gun right here. Classic space laser gun, I might add. So I'm gonna take just really quick, if you give me a moment, I'm going to, here we go. Compare one of the 1940s Ajax Archer figures to this guy right here, and just look at that difference. Over, what, almost 70 years between the molding on this gun and this gun right here. Just night and day in quality. So we continue going. A guy who's a non-warrior. We got this scientist dude. And also really like the bases too. That's a really cool look. In fact, if you look, the bases for the regular people are just normal ground, but these guys are actually walking on what looks like to be like some kind of hologram pad, cool hexagon looking thing. And even though he's an alien, he just writes on a regular clipboard. You know, no fancy tablets, nothing, just pencil paper, gets the job done, I guess. Then back here, we got another guy, again, with a real cool base. This guy looks like he could be the leader, and looks like he's thinking about something. Is cereal a soup? The answer to that is no, by the way, just in case you were wondering. And, yeah, I think that's... Oh, wait, no, we got one more alien. I was sorry, there's 6 aliens. We got this guy who's dual-wielding laser pistols, who's also just butt naked. So I guess they just don't have... I guess they have clothes in their alien civilization, but they're completely optional. So honestly, I'm kind of glad they took over Earth, because they really needed to make that happen. But yeah, I really love this set. to be honest. It is a really good companion to your sci-fi collection, even if the movie may not be super amazing, which from what I can tell, it doesn't look like it is between you and me, although I can't really say much because my videos look like they were filmed with a 1980s toaster oven, if anything. But I really do like this set. Probably my only complaint is that there's 11 figures, which is an odd number. And the reason that bugs me is because I was searching forever for my 6th blue figure. Like, when I opened these up, I was looking around, I was like, did I lose one of the blue guys? I only have 11 here. Like, there should be 12. And then finally, I looked at the actual package, and it was like, oh yeah, there's only 11. So that kind of bugged the crap out of me, just a little bit. But anyway, guys, very cool, very neat set. I would highly recommend it if you're a sci-fi fan. Space as a genre is really fun to play around with, not just way back in the day in the 40s and the 50s with Buck Rogers and Tom Corbett, but also today in the modern era where we have stuff like Dune, Star Wars, Star Trek. People get really attached to the idea of the vast emptiness of space and what's out there because it's still rather mysterious to us. And the imagination that people, especially children, can get caught up in because of that is very showing, especially in toys from all sorts of time periods leading up to today. You can really see just how kids would take these characters and these figures and just absolutely run with them, with their own storylines and their own imaginary ideas of what they thought space was like. But anyway, guys, that's going to wrap up this video. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. Sorry these videos are taking longer to come out. I'm just going to go ahead and tell y'all to get used to that because I really am enjoying this style of content, the video essay. But let me know how y'all feel about it. I feel like y'all are going to like this a lot more too. But anyway, guys, I'm the What's that? Do you guys hear that? Oh my God.
Command. Build your armies. Lead your formations. Battle your way. Who commands the Star Wars universe? You. Unleash the power of the Force to control the Imperial Star Destroyer. Fire the ion cannon and defeat the rebels. Build massive armies and create epic battles with new Star Wars command figure and vehicle packs, each sold separate.
There really is no rest for the Plastic Commander, is there? For a channel dedicated to playthings, playtime itself is something that I'll rarely ever see again. While balancing a social life, a work life, and YouTube, I've completely forfeited all amount of freedom that I would ever be granted in the near future. Much like the stories of old, it is all within my imagination, for work is the only thing I know anymore.